The nose and the seeds are really easy. It's just coming out of one stitch with your thread and going through another. We'll do the nose first. I'm going to push my needle through here and come up on a stitch right beside one of my eyes. It can be a little tough to push through all the stuffing. Pull this yarn through, but leave this tail a little long. Now we're going to count down one stitch and over two. Push our needle into that stitch right there. Now I'm going to go into this one. We're going to count over 2 stitches from where we first came out. Then go into that space below the first stitch we came out of, making an X. We're going to go in here and just come out wherever. And there you go. There's your little nose. We just made an X. Now, to make the seeds, all you have to do is pick a stitch, like where we are, and push your needle into the one beneath it. Don't pull too tightly. Then just pick another spot somewhere and do the same thing. And just repeat that. I finished all my seeds. I just kind of put them wherever the body felt kind of empty. A couple of them are a bit slanted, but that's fine. Now I'm sewing in my tail ends. If you're not familiar with this, you just have to come through the same stitch, knot them, and hide them inside the body. I'm just going to hide this second one now. Be careful not to make the tail end too short. This is too short for me to weave through again, so I'll just cut it. If it's sticking out, just poke it back in. And don't worry about this, we're going to take care of that when we do the wings. But first, we're going to do the ears. And it's time to give our bat a little character. This time, when we make a magic circle, it's going to be of 4 stitches, not 6. This is considerably more difficult because we have to work in a smaller area. If you can't do a magic circle 4 stitches, start off with 6 stitches, and I'll tell you what to do from there. But for me, I'm going to start off with a magic circle of 4. And again, you don't need to do a magic circle this way. You can also do a magic ring. Okay, whether you have 4 or 6 stitches, close your circle. If you've made a magic circle 4 stitches, you want to increase from 4 to 6 this round. If you weren't able to do a circle of 4 and you did one of 6, you're just going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch. But for those of you that started with 4, you're first going to do an increase. And the reason we're increasing first is it's going to make our project slightly bigger and thus easier to work with. Then you're going to do a single crochet. Then do another increase. And a single crochet. Now the reason I didn't use a stitch marker here is because of how small our work is. So if you want, you could put one in now and cut this tail short. Now remember, if you start off with 6 stitches, you just did 1 round of single crochet. So the next round goes for everyone, whether you did the 4 or 6 magic circle. You're going to do 1 round of 6 single crochet. So there's 1, 2. This could be a bit difficult when working with a smaller piece of work, but this is what gives us the points of our ears. Now, if you get to where I am and you accidentally did an increase and you have 7 stitches like I do, that's okay. Just go in here and do a decrease. It really won't affect much, but that's an example of what you can do if your stitch count is over. You can also just undo the round, but this works just as well. Let's go on to our next round. This time, we're increasing from 6 to 8. So you're just doing 2 single crochet and then increase. So go into this one, single crochet, go into the next one, single crochet, and then increase. Again, single crochet, then 1 more, and then an increase. And remember, if it makes it easier, you could take the marker out. Just remember what stitch you're on and put it back in after. For this next round, we're going to increase from 8 to 10. 3 single crochet and then increase. And we do that 2 times. So we go 1, 2, 3, and then do an increase. And again, 3 single crochet. There's 1, 2, 3, and an increase. This time we're increasing from 10 to 12. 4 single crochet, increase. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to increase. So 2 single crochet into that 5th stitch, and then another 4 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then an increase. So now this time we're just going to do a single crochet into every stitch. So 12 single crochet. If you don't have 12 stitches, if you have 11, you can increase in one of your stitches. That's totally fine. If you instead have 13 stitches, I've already shown you what you can do. Just try not to make this a habit. Try to keep your stitch count where it should be every round. It's okay if this happens occasionally, it can be fixed. With smaller projects like this, it'll be much more noticeable, however. And there's my 12 stitches. For the last round of our ear, we're going to decrease from 12 to 10. So you're going to decrease 4 single crochet, decrease 4 single crochet, and we're doing an invisible decrease. Second stitch, single crochet, 2, 3, 4. Now do another decrease. One, 2, 3, and 4. You can see I haven't moved my stitch marker for a few rounds. As you get more accustomed to crocheting, you won't need to move it every round. Instead, you'll use it just to keep on point. Now cut your yarn and leave a long tail for sewing. Pull your hook and your marker out. Flatten your ear at the stitch your tail is coming out of. Later, we'll be sewing back and forth through these stitches. Now, we're going to make the wings. To make the wings, you could probably guess, we're starting with the magic circle. I did say that the magic circle is the foundation of amigurumi. You're gonna have to get used to them. So to start off, we're gonna make a magic circle of 6 stitches. You should be pretty familiar with how to do this at this point, but I'll do it with you anyways. Five and 6. We're going to close up our ring and insert our marker. For the next round, we're increasing from 6 to 12 stitches. So we're going to put 2 single crochet into every stitch. A lot of the time when it comes to making stuffed animals, it's all about manipulating what you've created into different shapes. And you'll see that when we're finished making this wing. I'm just going to finish up this round with you. We're almost there. So now we're going to increase from 12 to 18. I know you're probably wondering how this makes a wing. Don't worry, we're going to get there. Single crochet. And then you're going to increase. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. We're just going to do that for the last 6 stitches. Now we're going to take care of this tail back here. I've threaded the tail onto my needle. We did this before. You're just going to look for a back loop here. Pull your yarn through, but we're not going to go through that loop. You're just going to pull it. And find a second back loop. And go through a couple of them this time. Like that. Pull it tight. And snip it close to your work. And there you go. On to our last round of increases. We're increasing from 18 to 24. So 2 single crochet, increase, just like we've done before. First stitch, single crochet. Another single crochet. Increase. Fourth stitch, single crochet. Fifth stitch, single crochet. Sixth, increase. You're just going to repeat this pattern till the end of the round. The next round, I'm going to teach you something new, so I'll meet you there. So now we're going to learn something that's a variation of what's called the picot stitch, which I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's simple. Don't worry. First, you're going to do a single crochet. In your second stitch, single crochet. But this time, we're going to chain 2. So you're just going to pull your leading yarn through your loop twice. Then we're going to skip this first chain and go into the second one. It can be a little difficult, I know. You're going to grab the yarn and pull it through. Tighten. Now you're going to single crochet into the next stitch of your circle. And this is what makes the little points in our wings here. We're going to do it again. I'm going to do a few with you. We just went into this stitch. You're going to go into your next stitch and do a single crochet. Next one, another single crochet. And chain 2. Going to go into that second chain. Slip stitch. Tighten. And single crochet into the next stitch. Do it again. Single crochet, another single crochet, chain 2. Now you can go into this loop here, that's fine, but I want to stay consistent. Slip stitch, tighten, and single crochet into the next one. We'll do it together one more time. Single crochet, single crochet again, chain 2, slip stitch into that chain, tighten it, single crochet into the next one. And we're halfway done. Finish the last 4 picot stitches and I'll meet you at the end. I've reached my last picot stitch. You're going to slip stitch into the next stitch of your circle and cut a long tail for sewing. I'll show you when we get to that point, but we're actually going to do something similar to the ears. We're going to flatten this corner and sew through both sides. And that is what makes the wing fan out like this. Okay, let's start sewing stuff on. If you remember, I said we're going to flatten our ear. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew back and forth between our stitches. So we're going to go through our first stitch here and sew through the other side. Then we're going to go into this side. Then we're going to do the same thing on this side. And we're going to do this back and forth 5 times. Now the last one could be a little tricky to see right here, but just push through. There. Now do that for both ears. Time to sew our ears to the back of the head. First, we have to figure out where we want them positioned. The way that I determined this was I looked at my eyes and I counted over 4 spaces. So we have this space here, this stitch, then this stitch. Then counted 4 more stitches from here. Count over and push your needle through that first stitch. So we're going to go back to that stitch. We're going to push our needle through and come out that 4th stitch right here. I know we crossed through our ear 5 times, but that last corner stitch is a bit small. For now, push your needle in and count over 4 and come out that stitch. Now take your ear and position it like this. Hold it in place. Now take your needle and push it into that last stitch of your ear and back into the stitch our thread is coming out of. And push your needle out somewhere else. The reason we sewed both corners is to keep the ear in place while we attach it. Checking that's where I want it? Yep. Now, you're going to maneuver your needle into the stitch next to that very first one we started sewing the ear onto. And now go through that ear stitch right there and back into the stitch we came out of. It can be a little tricky, but you'll get the hang of it. It doesn't really matter at this point if our stitches completely line up. We're sewing the ear on this way to make it look a bit more seamless. Move your needle up into that next stitch. Push into the ear again and back into that same stitch. So you see this spot right here kind of sticking up? We're going to go up beneath that. See how this corner is also sticking up a little bit? I'm going to push my needle into it and go back into my body again. Now, I don't quite like how this ear flaps, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to push my needle back in and I'm going to come up a couple of rows from where we sewed the ear on. But see how I'm coming up behind the ear? Laying my ear flat, I'm going to look and push my needle through both sides of that ear. When you do this, you want to pull tightly, but don't warp your ear. Then I'm going to push my needle into a stitch on the edge of the ear. Go through the ear and into the bat's head. Again, don't pull too tightly here. We're going to do that same thing a couple of times. It doesn't matter too much which stitch you pick, but you want to pin down either side of your ear. You want it to be on the edge so it stays more firmly in place. See, it's a little flappy, so we're going to do the same thing on this side of the ear. I'm going to push up into the head and through that ear. And go back down to this stitch on the edge of my ear. And there we go. Let's sew on the second one. We're going to start at the eye and count over 4 stitches. Insert a hook, count over another 4, and come out that 4th stitch at the back of the head. Flip your ear over and take a look at your bat. Make sure it's where you want it. And just like with the first ear, we're going to go through that ear corner right here. Now something you can do here. You see the edge? It's a little raised. Sometimes I'll go through this edge, then go back through into that stitch I came out of. This will help to pin the ear down. Now if you look at this edge is also standing up. So I'm going to maneuver over here and just do the same thing. Now go through that edge, but this time I'm going to come out of the stitch next to it. If you find that difficult, just wind back and forth through the body like I showed you. So I'm going through that ear and back into that stitch again. So I'm just looking for the stitches that aren't sewn down or maybe need a second sewing. Sorry you can't really see what I'm doing here, but I was having trouble finding my stitches through my camera lens. I'm just doing the same thing I've been showing you. Now I go through this time, I'm going to come up a couple of rows, just like we did with the first ear. And just like before, we're going to go through our ear. Then push my needle into a stitch on the edge of the ear. And back into the bat head. Then I'm going to come up on this side, go through that ear again. And then back into a corner stitch once more. Let me see. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So now I'm going to hide my yarn tails. So I'm going to push my needle into the same stitch as this tail. Knot them together. Wind them through the body and cut the tails. Our bat is finally starting to look like a bat. Just look at him. So now we're going to sew the wings on. Just like what we did with our ears, we're going to fold our wing. You want these two sides to line up. And just like with the ear, we're going to weave through both sides of the stitches. Then come to this stitch and do the same thing. Don't go through these two picot stitches, just these two. Now you want to flip your bat over and figure out where you want to place your wings. You can place them where you want, but I like them right here. I want my wing at an angle, so instead of going straight down, I'm going down one and over. As you can see, I'm going to use this other seed as a marker of where I want my wing to be placed. This time, I'm going to come up through the edge of the wing. And actually, I'm going to go back through one of these picot stitches. So again, this doesn't have to be precise. When you're sewing, just kind of feel it out. You're going to have to know when to use your own best judgment when it comes to crocheting. There's a spot here next to where I came out, and I'm just going to push through into that. So just like what we did with the ears, I'm actually going to pin a part of the wings to the body here. I'm going to pick a spot close to the wing, Go into that wing. Then I'm going to go into the next stitch beside it. Give it a little tug. You can see that yarn strand right here. Just a little tug. Then go back into the body. Make sure your loops don't get stuck on appendages when you're sewing. And now, give your yarn a good tug. And now we're going to take care of this, finally, because it's been in our way this whole time. We're going to bring our yarn into that same stitch as this tail. Knot them. Then weave our tail back into the body. I'm going to leave one tail end, but cut it shorter. And then I'm going to hide this other one, which was from sewing our body. But leave this other tail for when you sew your second wing on. And just like with the first wing, we're going to sew the two edges together. We're going to find where we lined up that first wing with our ear. It's okay if one of your ears may look a little off. It's just the back of the bat. I'll explain this another time. So our wing was sewn into this round. And we're going to put our second wing right here. Go down and over one stitch, like before. Come up and through both sides of the wing edge here. And come back down into that stitch. I've shown you how to sew the wings on, so I'm just going to finish this up on my own, and we'll move on to the last part of our project. I have both wings sewn on. Now I'm just going to knot these tails together. I have my tails coming out of the same stitch. Knot them, then weave both of your tails through the body and cut them. We're on to our final step. Woohoo! We're going to make the leaves on top of our bat's head. And again, if you're just making a normal bat, you don't need to do this part. You're going to take a long strand of green yarn and you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're going to skip that first chain, go into the second one, and do a slip stitch. And tighten it. A single crochet in the next one. And single crochet into the third. Remember, this is not a stitch. This is your knot. So tighten your knot. And you're not going to cut your yarn. Instead, what you're going to do is chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And like before, you're going to skip that first chain and slip stitch into the second. Tighten it. Then single crochet 4 times down that chain. That last one can be a little hard to see. And again, you're going to chain 4. And just like with the first leaf, slip stitch into that second chain, tighten it, and make 2 single crochet. Now you're going to cut your yarn and pull it through the loop. I'm going to show you how to sew this on. Just like we did with the wings and ears, fold the base of your leaves and you're going to sew through those chains. Now this isn't exact, you just want to pull the leaves closer together. So just weave through those bottom stitches a few times. So it looks something kind of like this. Now let's take our little buddy, and usually I sew the leaves right through the middle of our magic circle right here. So just push your needle through and come out nearby. I'm going to pin them into place to see where I want them to lay. So I'm going to come up through the head and through one of those leaves. Since I want the leaves to stand up a little bit, I'm not going through the edge of them. And now I'm going to pin the leaf by going through this spot and back into the head. For the next leaf, I'm just going to do the same thing. Come up through head and leaf, and go back down close to the center. You can arrange your leaves how you want. You can add more leaves if you want. I'm going to take this other yarn end, snip the fray. I want to breach this little gap between my leaves, so I'm going to push my hook into here. Then weave it back into the head and come out the same stitch as my first strand. You can play with it, you can adjust your leaves. Since I don't quite like this leaf, I'm going to come back through and pin it over here. Of course, every bat is going to be a little different, but that's one of the fun things about these projects. Now, just hide your tail ends. And there he is, our little fruit bat. Didn't he come out cute? So if you want to learn more, like, subscribe, and share, and check out my other videos. I have more tutorials on the way for beginners, and keep an eye out for my left-handed crochet videos. And I hope to see you again.